So Metroidvania month 22 just ended last night. Um, I want to do a wrap-up video. Uh, uh, First of all, I want to congratulate everyone who submitted. You know, I even those that I didn't have a chance to play their game. Just submitting is a success in itself. Um, I also want to say that I haven't participated in that many Metroidvania months. I've participated in number 15, 16, 18, 20, and 22. And from my experience, this was the biggest Metroidvania month. Um, I've never seen the ratings go above, 1,000. The entries, there were a lot of entries. So, this was a successful jam in my opinion. Um, to those that I didn't get to do reviews for and playthroughs, I'm sorry. It's just Metroidvania month is just such a long and large jam that I feel like you can't do the 5, maybe 10 minutes and then rate unless, you're very confident that you can rate them appropriately. Um, so just for me, I think I got about a third. I haven't checked, but there are a lot of games that made top ratings that I didn't even get a chance to play. Um, so like I think that once I have some time, I'll try and get back and play those that I didn't. Um, and some people have requested that I play updated versions now that the jam is over and they can upload those. So I do want to get to that as well. Another reason why I didn't get to all of them is because, because it's a month-long jam, I really want to give people as much time as I can to really play through the games, or at least enough to provide valuable feedback. So those who like, just fire off and rate as many games as possible. I don't know how you do it. I'm not sure if you say, 10 minutes or, more, or 10 minutes or less, or, if you just crank it out. I've seen people, I think we've all seen people who stream that just power through jam games. Um, and I don't really think that's the way you should do it uh, for Metroidvania month. Some of my favorites, or special mentions, uh, were Knives of Solomon, which did win. I really liked that game. Um, I really liked uh, Quarry, which was a first-person uh, Metroidvania, and I'm a Castlevania guy, so the only Metroidvanias or Metroid games that I have played are Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo, and then the worst Metroid game you can play, which is Other M. Um, and that's not even like this style. The Quarry is more like the Metroid Prime series. So, I went in with a more of a, I think, what's the word I want to use that's appropriate. When I came into the game, I think the cards were stacked against Quarry in terms of my enjoyment, because I just didn't really, I don't really, I haven't really played, the Prime games. And I found that, I liked it. it was fun. I liked the player movement, gravity. I was really surprised with how much I liked it. Um, I think there's one more that I really want to mention. Oh yes, Keymaster, by Coolest Man Games. Um, they are. It was made by a 14-year-old in Scratch, and I haven't messed around or seen what's Scratch is fully capable of. So this was an opportunity for me to see what could be done with it, and um, what I think is really impressive about that game is specifically that you're given an option as you gain skill points to either, invest in your character or sacrifice that point to regenerate all your health. And that's, for one thing, that's a very interesting, you know, uh, concept to give the player. I mean, giving the player this sense of agency where they can base their decision on whether they want to get stronger or if they need that health and you know, it's worth spending the point for, then they could. So get a 14-year-old really thinking about giving players the freedom or the decision to make that choice between replenishing health or getting stronger is was fantastic. Um, there is one more game, and right now I'm scrolling through the winners trying to find. So the Watchful Deep by Kakairos Zephyr, Strange Graphics, Genja, Genjar Kenjam, and Vodou. Uh, I really loved this game. There was this small, like, weird bug that just happened for me once, and it never happened again. Um, and what's really funny is I didn't even remember it happening until Kairos reached out and said, I don't know what happened here. Um, but I really, really liked the boss fight for Watchful Deep because it was it was one of those runaway bosses, and you have to navigate through. And I like those kinds of bosses. I was actually expecting, you know, to get a little frustrated because the hanging, I always forgot that, you know, once it reaches the bend in the pipes where you're hanging, that's where you fall off. So it had to be completely a straight stretch, and my I instinctively always tried to, like, oh, I want to hang on to the far, far edge, and I dropped a lot during that, but I made it through. Um, the first boss fight for Knives of Solomon, really great. I died a few times, but it forced me to learn, the cycle of how the bosses, uh, what the bosses tells war, when I should attack, when should I, stay away, and I eventually beat that boss. So congratulations to them. So for the sake of transparency, in terms of where I placed, overall I got 24th, um, Execution 19th, Metroidvania 24th, Enjoyment 26th, Sensory 28. I think that is perfectly ranked. Like, and the only disappointing part about that is that I knew what the biggest issue of the game was when I submitted, and all the feedback and what I got to see people play was exactly what I knew was going to happen, and it frustrated me so much. And for those who played, you know, the issue was not a lot of people for a lot of people, the issue was not being able to see the switches or knowing which ones they open. And in my defense, they weren't even supposed to be a part of the game. They were a last minute oh shit patch when I realized the mechanic I was planning to use, uh, I just didn't have time to implement. And if you noticed, the boxes, they weren't going to be just, like barriers or things you could jump on. Eventually, they were going to be puzzles that you moved the blocks with. But it was so glitchy that when I first started to implement the first puzzle, I immediately locked myself out. And I already knew that I would be locking people, and so I had planned for just the game to have a button that you could just restart from when you entered the room. But uh, it just it was worse than I thought. Um, so it was a last minute pivot, and I I'm so disappointed because I knew everyone was going to have that issue, or most people were going to have that issue, or at least point that out. Uh, so, in terms of receiving feedback, it was like all the feedback I received was something I already knew, and I was hoping to get something else. But I just knew, upon submitting that this was just, it was going to be a train wreck to witness. Um, but yeah, I also wanted to, get feedback as a reviewer myself. Um, I know I set out, a initial video on how I'm going to approach the jam. Um, did I meet those, you know, did I do what I said I was going to do? Do you think my ratings were a little too critical? Like, should I do the same as I did and then after I've rated it, just bump it up each category a star? Because I noticed I only gave 5 stars on very few categories. I think I did a couple fours, but you know, I think I rated pretty low. I think there were a lot of twos in when I was rating. And thinking about it, maybe I was too focused on the analytical part that I forgot to just, kind of forget, ratings entirely and just, you know, rate how I feel is fair. I think I was so analytical that it translated over into my ratings. Um, Another question I have is, did I provide valuable feedback? I would like to say I did, and people have reached out, saying that it was very helpful. Um, so I'd like to think so, but I would also, maybe I didn't, and I would like to know what you think I should improve on. Um, Also, should I leave out the rating part entirely, or do you feel like full transparency was the right choice? Because that was something I wrestled with because, you know, I think the most important part of these jams is to have fun and to receive valuable feedback so that you can improve. Winning is just icing on the cake, oh, I did well, I received valuable feedback and people liked it so much that I rated, you know, number one, two, three, whatever. Um, so I was wondering if I should leave the rating part out so that people can just appreciate, the my, review and feedback without, you know, worrying about ratings? Um, or do you just feel like full transparency? Just tell us everything. Um, so that's something I'd like to know. Another reason why I want this feedback as, a rater, and, someone to provide feedback is because I liked, I enjoyed, doing these recordings, and uh, I like providing feedback, for other developers. So I ask these not just, in the case of, j- not in the just in the context of game jams, but maybe do some um, game nights on, a bi-monthly basis, or um, set up requests just to test games, you know, on their own. Give developers and designers a chance to see someone play the game, with a completely fresh view. No developer or designer tunnel vision, which can happen a lot, at least in my experience. Um, but yeah, once again, congratulations to everyone. I think this was a fantastic Metroidvania month. Uh, so yeah, have a good day.